My son was fighting leukemia when the hospital warned he could decline at any moment. I begged my parents to watch my younger kids for one night. They refused because leaving my sister's anniversary party would look bad. Then I called my ex-husband. He laughed over the music at his ski resort and said, "You'll figure it out." A month later, I buried my child, 1 week after the funeral. My parents stood outside my apartment holding a folder with my son's face on it. I closed the door because what they wanted me to sign proved Liam's death had been profitable before he was gone. Before I dive into the story, hit like and drop a comment telling me where you're listening from. Let me know if you've ever been in this kind of situation. Your advice reminds me I'm not alone. My name is Roxanne Hayes. I was 36 when this happened, though grief made me feel twice that age. Before leukemia, our mornings were loud and ordinary. Caleb and Sophie argued over cereal. Liam sat at the kitchen table lining up plastic dinosaurs beside his orange juice. The radiator clanked, coffee burned in the pot. I used to think exhaustion meant getting 3 kids dressed before 8. Then Liam got sick. For 3 years, my life became hospital bracelets, insurance calls, and medicine schedules taped to the refrigerator. I worked as a medical data analyst during the day and slept in stiff vinyl chairs at night. Some mornings, I brushed my teeth in a hospital bathroom and went straight into a video meeting with my camera off. Liam rarely complained. That was the part that hurt most. When chemotherapy took his hair, he rubbed his smooth head and said, "At least I save money on shampoo." I laughed because he needed me to. His father, Jason, stopped visiting regularly within months. He said hospitals made him feel trapped. My parents, Thomas and Linda, always promised they would come next weekend. Next weekend became Thanksgiving, then Christmas, then spring. One afternoon, Liam watched the elevator doors open and asked, "Is Dad coming today?" I tucked his blanket under his chin. He got stuck at work. Honey, that lie tasted like metal. The truth was, Jason had chosen a life where sick children did not interrupt dinner reservations. My parents had chosen one where family mattered most in framed photographs. My younger sister, Megan, remained the center of every holiday, every toast, every conversation. I had spent my whole life being told to understand. Megan was sensitive. Mom was overwhelmed. Dad had responsibilities. Jason was under pressure. So I learned to swallow disappointment before anyone could accuse me of causing a scene. By early October, Liam's condition had worsened. One cold evening, his fever spiked, and the hospital admitted him again. The room smelled like sanitizer and warm plastic. Rain tapped against the dark window while a monitor traced green lines above his bed. Dr. Rachel Morgan pulled me into the hallway. "He's stable right now," she said carefully, "but that could change fast tonight." "I don't want you leaving." My stomach dropped. Caleb and Sophie were home with Grace, their sitter, but she could not stay overnight without arrangements. I looked through the glass at Liam's small hand resting on the blanket. Then I called my mother. The music hit me before my mother's voice did. Jazz. Glasses clinking. Someone laughing close to the phone. "Mom," I said, keeping my eyes on Liam through the hospital glass. "I need you and Dad to go to my apartment, just for tonight. Grace can stay until 10, but she can't be responsible for the twins overnight." There was a pause. Not shock, not fear, annoyance. Roxanne. "Tonight is Megan and Marcus's anniversary dinner," Linda said. "Half the club is here, I know. I'm sorry. But Liam could crash at any moment." She lowered her voice. "You always assume the worst." My fingers tightened around the phone. The doctor told me not to leave. Another burst of laughter came through the speaker. "If your father and I walk out now?" "People will ask questions," she said. "We'll come by tomorrow." "Mom, I'm asking for one night. Don't make this dramatic." Then the line went dead. I stood there staring at my reflection in the black phone screen. Behind me, a machine beeped steadily beside my son. I called Jason. He answered over rushing wind and loud music. "What is it?" I told him everything. Liam, the twins, the warning from the doctor. For 1 second, I thought he might finally act like their father. Instead, he laughed. "You'll figure it out." I felt something inside me go completely still. They're your children, too. I pay what the court ordered, he said. I'm not canceling my trip because your sitter has a schedule. He hung up. I arranged for Grace to stay after speaking with her family. Then I went back into Liam's room, sat beside him, and held his hand until sunrise. He survived that night, but only barely. Over the next 4 weeks, he stopped asking when he could go home. He stopped finishing his applesauce. One afternoon, he was too weak to hold his green dinosaur, so I placed it under his palm. Caleb and Sophie drew pictures for his wall. Jason never came. My parents sent flowers with a printed card. A month later, I buried my child. At the funeral, my family wore black, accepted hugs, and spoke about Liam as if they had known the sound of his breathing at 3 a.m. 1 week later, someone knocked on my apartment door. Thomas and Linda stood in the hallway. My father held a dark blue folder against his chest. On the cover was Liam's face. Below it were the words, "The Liam Hope Fund. We just need your signature," my mother said. I saw the date on the first page. It had been prepared months before Liam died. I looked at them, closed the door, and heard the folder hit the floor outside. I left the folder outside until morning. That was how badly I wanted it gone, but grief doesn't erase curiosity. It sharpens it, by 7. I was sitting at my kitchen table with cold coffee, Liam's green dinosaur beside my laptop, and that dark blue folder open under the yellow light. The first page was a glossy letter about preserving Liam's legacy. The second showed his face beside a donation goal. The third asked me to confirm that I had authorized the use of his name, photographs, and medical story. The approval date was from spring, months before he died. My hand started shaking. I turned toward the stack of bills beside me, nearly $150,000, hospital charges, medication balances, collection notices. Every number represented a choice I had already made: rent late, groceries smaller, another credit card pushed to its limit. I called the hospital billing office. A woman named Diane pulled up Liam's account. Her voice changed after a minute. "There is a note here," she said. "A charitable fund contacted us earlier this year and asked for documentation. They stated they intended to help with treatment costs." My pulse hammered. Did they ever pay anything? No. Nothing was completed. After I hung up, I searched the fund's public records. It had been created in April, the same month Liam's doctors told us his treatment had stopped working. The fundraising language claimed donations would support Liam's care and other children facing leukemia. Public campaign summaries showed roughly $5 million had been raised. $5 million. I looked at my empty refrigerator, then at the final notice on the table. That was when grief gave way to something colder. I wanted to call my mother. I wanted to drive to Jason's office and throw the folder across his desk. Instead, I opened a spreadsheet, dates, promises, payments, names. I tracked what I could legally access and printed nothing I could not verify. Then I called Daniel Price, an attorney who handled financial misconduct involving charities. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he said, "Do not confront them. Do not post online. If money is still moving, we need to preserve the trail before anyone knows you found it." The next person I called was Marcus. He met me in his office after hours. I placed Liam's bills, the fundraising materials, and the public numbers in front of him. He stared at the page showing $5 million raised. "That can't be right," he said. "Then tell me where it went." His eyes moved to the name of his own firm listed among the fund's financial advisors. The color drained from his face. Marcus did not hand me private records. He called his attorney and reported the matter to his company's compliance department. They preserved the emails, payments, and contracts through proper channels. The first review found almost no charitable spending. More than $400,000 had gone to salaries and management fees. Large payments had also gone to businesses connected to Jason and my father, and they were preparing a $5,000 a plate gala to raise even more. Daniel filed for an emergency order to freeze the money before the event, the night my family planned to tell the city Liam's story. We would be there to tell the truth. The hotel ballroom held everything my family worshipped: crystal chandeliers, white roses, champagne on silver trays, Men in tuxedos shook hands beneath giant photographs of Liam while donation screens glowed with his name. I stood near the back in a dark emerald dress. Liam's green dinosaur inside my purse. Marcus had placed me on his guest list. My mother spotted me first. "What are you doing here?" she whispered. "I came to hear what you plan to say about my son." Her fingers closed around my arm. "You need to leave before you embarrass us." She motioned toward security. Marcus stepped between us. "She's my guest." Linda stared at him. "This is a family matter." "No," Marcus said. It stopped being one when money started disappearing. The lights dimmed. Jason walked onto the stage, polished beneath the spotlight. Behind him appeared a photograph I had taken after Liam's 5th birthday. Jason spoke about sleepless nights beside Liam's hospital bed. He described holding our son's hand through treatments he had never witnessed. He called himself a father who had turned grief into hope. My fingers tightened around the dinosaur. I heard Liam's voice. "Dad coming today." Jason raised one hand toward the donation total. "Tonight, we can make sure no parent faces this alone." The donation screens went black. A murmur rolled across the ballroom. Jason turned toward the technician. "What happened?" A woman in a navy suit stepped onto the stage with Daniel. She introduced herself as legal counsel delivering an emergency court order. Effective immediately. The fund could not receive, transfer, or spend money while its finances were under review. The room erupted. Jason grabbed the microphone. "This is a misunderstanding." Marcus walked onto the stage. "I have withdrawn from every role connected to this fund," he said. "I also reported transactions requiring formal review." Jason's face tightened. "You ungrateful coward." Marcus did not move. "I'm not betraying this family. I'm refusing to help you betray another one." Daniel signaled toward the screen. Verified figures appeared. Approximately $5 million raised. Almost nothing spent on the medical care or family support promised to donors. More than $400,000 paid in salaries and management fees. Large payments sent to businesses linked to Jason and my father. And Liam's bills nearly $150,000 still unpaid. The ballroom went silent. Then chairs scraped backward. Donors stood. Some demanded refunds. Others stared at my father as if they no longer recognized him. Thomas pushed toward the stage. "My daughter is grieving," he announced. "She has not been emotionally stable." That was when I walked forward. Linda tried to block me. "You will ruin everything," she hissed. "You did that yourselves." Marcus handed me the microphone. I placed the dark blue folder on the podium. "This is what my parents brought to my door 1 week after Liam's funeral," I said. "They wanted me to sign papers claiming I had approved this months earlier." Jason stepped closer. "Roxanne, don't do this." I turned toward him. "For 3 years. I sat beside Liam while he fought leukemia. You stopped coming when the hospital became inconvenient." I faced the room. "The night doctors warned me he could decline. I begged my parents to watch my younger children for 1 night. They refused because they were at a party." My mother's face went white. "I called Liam's father next. He laughed and told me." "You'll figure it out." No one moved. A month later, I buried my son, while I struggled to feed my other children. These people paid themselves with money raised using his face. Jason gripped the podium. Those were legitimate operating expenses. I looked straight at him. "You didn't protect his legacy. You priced it." Daniel announced that all accounts, records, and related payments were preserved for investigation. No one on the board could destroy documents or move funds. My father sank into a chair. Jason searched the ballroom for someone to defend him. No one did. I lifted Liam's photograph from the folder. "He was my son before he became your story," I said. "Tonight." I'm taking his name back. The investigation lasted months, long enough for the headlines to fade, long enough for people who had praised my family to stop answering their calls, but not long enough for them to hide what they had done. The independent audit confirmed the fund had been built on promises it never kept. Donors had been told their money would help Liam and other families facing childhood leukemia. Instead, Almost none of it had reached the people named in the campaign. The court kept the accounts frozen. Donors were given a process to request refunds. What remained was placed under legal supervision and redirected to an independent childhood cancer program. My own medical debt was reviewed separately. Because the fund had publicly claimed it would support Liam's treatment, the settlement covered the unpaid hospital balance. Nearly $150,000 disappeared from my shoulders. I did not celebrate. I sat at my kitchen table, stared at the zero on the statement, and cried harder than I had in weeks because Liam should have been there to see it. Jason's firm terminated him before the investigation was complete. Clients pulled their accounts. Business partners stopped returning messages. The luxury car he had posted online was sold while payments connected to the fund were examined. He left me one voicemail, "Roxanne, you've made your point." I deleted it. My father lost his board positions and sold part of his property to pay legal expenses. For the first time in my life, Thomas could not control a conversation by reaching for his wallet. My mother's punishment was quieter. The invitations stopped. Her friends removed photographs from social media. Women who once hugged her at charity lunches suddenly crossed the room when she entered. Linda had spent her life building a perfect audience. Now, no one wanted to watch. Megan tried to claim she had only handled the fund's public image, but Marcus found messages showing she knew donors were being misled. He filed for divorce. Marcus kept most of his career because he reported the transactions and cooperated fully. Still, the betrayal changed him. He once told me the worst part was not losing his marriage. It was realizing he had trusted people who saw his integrity as something they could borrow. I kept working. I started therapy. I learned how to sleep without checking my phone every hour. Caleb and Sophie began laughing loudly again. On the shelf in our living room, I placed one photograph of Liam beside his green dinosaur. No logo, no donation link, no carefully written story. Just my son, missing one front tooth, smiling at the camera. My parents sent letters asking me to soften my statement. Not one asked how the twins were doing, not one apologized to Liam. I placed every letter inside the dark blue folder, closed the lid, and stored it away. For the first time, that folder felt smaller than me. For years, I thought closing a door on family made me cruel. Now I know better. Cruelty was hearing a mother beg for help while her child lay in a hospital bed and choosing a party instead. Cruelty was laughing when the father of those children was asked to show up. Cruelty was turning a 7-year-old boy's suffering into a business opportunity. Setting a boundary was not revenge. It was protection. I could not bring Liam back. No court order, refund, or apology could give me one more morning with him. But I could protect Caleb and Sophie from growing up believing love had to be earned through silence. That night, I checked their bedroom, then touched the green dinosaur on the shelf. The door behind me was closed. The life ahead of us was not. If you have ever had to protect someone from your own family, share your story in the comments and subscribe so you do not miss the next story. You are not alone.